It seems like Carl Froch still enjoys trolling the public. He recently said this on his podcast about Gennady Golovkin. He said, "We were in talks with his manager. They were trying to get me down to 166 pounds. That doesn't sound like much weight, 2 pounds below the super middleweight limit. I was a machine at super middleweight. I could not have lost another 2 pounds and performed. They were just trying to drag me down that bit further. I said, look, let's make the fight and make it at super middleweight. You think you're too much for me? You'll back me up and knock me out. Let's do it at super middleweight. Don't forget, I was out the ring. This was after I'd been retired a year. Then the talk started to get a bit serious. They were just trying to drag me down to a weight division I wouldn't have been able to do it in. At the time when we were talking, I was 168 pounds, 186 pounds, a lifetime heaviest. So I've got to get myself down to super middleweight, which would have been hard. And they were trying to drag me down even further. And that's why the fight didn't happen. In my opinion, I beat him up because I'm too big and too strong for him. I might be wrong. We'll never know. But I would back myself to beat him. There will be a lot of people listening saying, no, load of bollocks. Golovkin would beat you. Eventually, Golovkin's power would tell. He'd land on you. He'd hurt you. He'd break you down and stop you. What I'd say to that is, I've never been stopped. I've only ever been put down twice in my career, and I got up to win both times. You can say either of us are a clear winner. I think I beat him by stoppage. I'd be hitting him that much, that hard, a little bit like the Lucian Bute fight. Back him up to the ropes, back him up, smash him to bits. You know how I roll. What a great fight that would have been, and I'm man enough to admit I could have come unstuck. I could have got my nose broke. I could have got my eye cut and been blinded in one eye. I could have got ironed out. I never think I'd be knocked out because I've been hit with some big shots in my career, and I've never felt them, but they never bothered me that much. I've never been flattened like Amir Khan, have I? I never think I'd be knocked out because I've been hit with some big shots in my career and I've felt them, but they never bothered me that much. I've never been flattened like Amir Khan, have I? So those are the words of the Cobra Carl Froch, still taking digs at Amir Khan after all these years. Still saying that he's too big, too strong, that he would have battered Gennady Golovkin the same way he did Lucian Bute. Incidentally, Gennady Golovkin flattened Lucian Bute in the amateurs. That fight is on YouTube for any of you guys to watch. I think that Gennady Golovkin would have been a much more difficult fight for Carl Froch than Lucian Bute. I think Gennady Golovkin, despite the fact that he's the smaller man, is stronger than Lucian Bute. I think more durable and just a better fighter overall, in my opinion. Lucian Bute always had an air of vulnerability about him. If you're talking about prime Golovkin, do I think he was a little overrated by HBO and many of his fans at the time? Yes, but Golovkin was still a fantastic fighter. I mean, you look at the Canelo Alvarez fights. The first fight in particular was very tough for Canelo. Even the second fight was tough when Golovkin decided to box. Danny Jacobs, of course, that was a real competitive fight. I personally thought Jacobs shaded it, but still, Golovkin put Jacobs on the ground. You know, Jacobs a very talented fighter. Carl Froch, not as fast as, or skilled as Canelo or Jacobs. Easier to hit than both those guys. Did he hit harder than Canelo and Jacobs? Possibly. But then again, I don't know. 168, Canelo seems to hit pretty damn hard. And at 175 as well. So I think Froch versus Golovkin would have been a fascinating fight. Undoubtedly would have been a war. Who would have won? I mean, I'm glad Froch admits that he could have got himself beat, but he's also confident, as you would expect. But if I had to pick prime for prime, who would have won? I might actually go with Golovkin. I might go with a Golovkin win on points. That's what I might go with. I know that Carl Froch has got the longer reach and all that kind of stuff. But is his offense sophisticated enough to be able to catch Golovkin? You know, one of the things I will say, though, which kind of makes me second guess what I've just said, is that Carl Froch is very good at flurrying the way he did against Lucian Bute and other fighters. And if he's got a stationary target in front of him and he decides to flurry, Golovkin is a guy who will freeze when you're flurrying at him. If you're throwing a big salvo of shots, he might try and punch with you for the first couple, but after that, he has a tendency to just stand there and take your punches before, delivering his own. I mean, we saw that in both Canelo fights. We saw that even when he fought Willie Monroe. There was a moment there where he just stood there and Monroe was hitting him with all kinds of different shots and Golovkin wasn't firing back. We even saw that late in the Danny Jacobs fight. So Golovkin is a little passive when somebody is putting it on him. And that would concern me for him against Carl Froch, because Carl Froch will open up. Carl Froch always had tremendous stamina. Even late in a fight, he can put punches together and flurry. But at the same time, Golovkin, very technically good. He could counter Carl Froch, I think, quite easily over Froch's shots. I think Froch would have to box the same kind of fight he boxed against Arthur Abraham or George Groves in the rematch. And then maybe he could win. Look, I think there's a case to be made that either guy could win the fight. But I don't know, man. I just think Golovkin is a lot better than Arthur Abraham. Arthur Abraham's probably got a tighter defense. In fact, he's definitely got a tighter defense than Golovkin. But he's nowhere near as skilled on the front foot as Golovkin is. And yeah, Froch was able to beat Arthur Abraham quite comprehensively. Maybe he could catch Golovkin more, but Golovkin could catch him more. I don't know. It's a fascinating fight. I wish it would have happened, to be honest with you, because I would have loved to have seen it. But it wasn't to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Gennady Golovkin versus Carl Froch. I'm kind of going back and forth in my mind right now. I initially said Golovkin on points. Now I'm second guessing, thinking maybe Froch could do him on points. Maybe somebody wins by knockout. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening about.